This is the July 4th Bike Talk, and this is Nick Richer, and I'm here with Mary LaPeak Dickson and her husband Patrick Dickson from Walk Bike Burbank, which is LACBC's latest chapter, and they're fighting for our bike lane. And hi.
Hi.
Mary and Patrick. And
thank you for starting a new chapter. We need you.
Yeah.
Immensely.
And we need more new local chapters all around the county, because we came today really to promote the idea of local chapters, because we think that they're a really great way for local action, which in places like Atwater Village and Silver Lake and downtown, it's so important to have people mobilized to take action on these issues as they come up. And in fact, that's how we got started, and we wanted to talk today. We came today to talk about a project called the South Channel Bikeway in Burbank. It's a Class 1 bike path that was proposed in two phases. The first phase is already built and was built in completed in 2011. It's a very short piece of the bike path. It's built along the Burbank Western Flood Control Channel, which is a tributary to the Los Angeles River. Just to clarify, it should not be confused with the Chandler Bike Path in Burbank, which is a very well-known bike path, which was an old railway that runs along Chandler Boulevard and connects up to the NoHo Red Line. That's the Chandler Bikeway. This is the South Channel, referring to a flood channel. And so it's a path that is off the street completely. It's next to a flood channel. So where it's built is it runs between the channel and where there are residential properties. The first phase of it was built, and you can visit it now, and it's really a very nice path. It is quiet because you don't get the street noise that you get with most bike lanes or where most of us ride day to day. And it's a great addition to the neighborhood. Many of the neighbors use it for walking, and so it seemed to be a great success story. Well, last June, we went to the city council meeting as interested citizens in the discussion that was going to occur that night about phase 2 of the bike path, which will connect the bike path where it ends right now at Alameda Avenue and take it all the way to the Metrolink train station in Burbank, which of course would make it a part of the local transportation options available to folks and make it easier to take a safe, the Class 1 bike lane is the highest level of a bike path. It is, it's actually a separated bike path, not, just a paint on the street. Mm-hmm. And so we went to this meeting, and the discussion at the meeting was going to be asking the city council in Burbank to approve the alignment of the phase 2 bike path along one side or the other of the path, and the city staff was there to discuss the options. And as the meeting progressed, we learned that it appeared that they were going to oppose the project and not build it at all, even though it was fully funded from a Metro grant and also a grant from involving the flood channel. And because there was one or two neighbors that came to the meeting and opposed the path because their houses were right next to the channel. And so there was this focus of, instead of being focused on the entire community that would benefit from the path, just of a couple individual neighbors who felt that it was going to upset their privacy rights. And so what happened instead, because we went and we spoke, and there was about 5 or 6 of us that went and really made an impassioned plea for this bike path, and I hope because of that they only voted to delay the consideration of the path. And so in the next month, we think that it's going to come back on. It's taken nearly a year to get back on the agenda. But as a result of that event, and like after the meeting, we were kind of shocked and feeling the way that you guys were talking about how you felt with Hyperion. At least we got it delayed. The decision was delayed, and we said, we really need to do something. This kind of situation where an issue comes up, something's on the agenda, and we all rush to the meeting, and it's really hard to get people to come to the meeting. You don't know about it. It's on an agenda, and even though you may be on the notification list, you don't know about it. And so we started doing some community organizing. We'd go out on the bike path. People were signing petitions, and we're knocking on doors and doing all this, and we said, you know what? We really need to do something different. let's think about organizing as a local chapter of the LA County Bicycle Coalition. Let's take advantage of the resources that they have. People like Eric Bruns, so knowledgeable about these issues that can help us. And we just felt like the best approach was going to be what Eric calls, winning hearts and minds. Not just fighting the politicians, but convincing politicians that these things are good, and not just good for bicyclists, but they're good for the community, and that if you could see the South Channel Bikeway, at least phase one where it's built now, and you walk along it and you see seniors walking, you see moms walking with strollers, and you see bicyclists, and you see kids on tricycles because it's a separated bike path, you'd realize this makes this neighborhood so nice. And it was a neighborhood in Burbank that has traditionally had some crime problems and some gangs and things, and so this is the type of investment that's needed there, not the opposite. And so that's what was, we felt like this is the completely wrong decision, the wrong way for Burbank to go. How do we change it around? So in July of 2014, we met in a coffee shop there with about 12 or 13 people, and we formed the local chapter with Eric's help. And we do advocacy, but now we're doing all kinds of other things. We started with a bike valet. At the local movie night, there was an outdoor movie that they do in Magnolia Park, and so we set up a bike valet. It's a very visible thing where we sit out in front of the whole crowd with the bikes parked there, and so each time, the next time they did a movie, there were a few more bikes, a few more people were riding their bikes to the movie. We did voter registration out on the bike path, got people who ride bikes to register to vote. We organized community rides. We did a ride after Thanksgiving to Lake Balboa, and a nice, easy ride using the Chandler Bikeway to North Hollywood, and then picking up the Orange Busway bike path, which takes you out to the park there. Really nice ride, but it's a total of about 20 miles, but mostly level. So people were really surprised how easy it was and how fun it was, and they're like, I got across the valley quicker on my bicycle than I can in a car. And it's these kinds of, you introduce people who are not accustomed to doing that, and they learn, bicycling is really a viable alternative for transportation. And so our next big event was New Year's. The first Saturday after New Year's, we had a river ride. So Burbank, we're fortunate, and we're right next to Glendale. Both Glendale and Burbank, they're together near the entrance to the LA River Path, right, as the Victory Bridge. They're near the Autry Museum and the zoo and everything. Mm-hmm. And so we scheduled a ride just to take the river path down to its end before it goes back out onto the Fig Bridge there, and then back up to the beginning. It's a very simple ride. But we invited a couple council members and said, it's New Year's. It's, people are interested in fitness in the new year. Come out and ride with us. And they did. We had 3 of the 5 council members who came out for the ride. And they were so enthused by it. They were like, this is really great. Like, some of them didn't have a bike, for one thing, so we got a bike for them. And they maybe said, I haven't ridden in 20 years, but the river path, it's not that difficult. It's a little bit of a downhill going the first leg, and then the coming up was a little bit of, and you do the dips underneath the bridges and so forth. But it was a really great event where they realized, first of all, that there's a constituency of people in the city that supports bicycling, and they're people from all walks of life, young people, older people, very nice, expensive bikes, and some bikes, that are cobbled together. It's across the gamut. And, politicians respond to, that large numbers of people care about an issue. It can make a difference. Not always. Sometimes, there's no accounting for any sort of logic with politics. But we're trying to win the hearts and minds of not only the council and others in the city government, but also drivers and other people in the community, and helping them understand where we're coming from. So just the idea of the local chapter has been so helpful, because we've come together as residents of the city, and we communicate once a month through the steering committee, and we are always on top of what's happening. We communicate with city staff about upcoming events, and everyone brings different talents to the organization. We have folks that are graphics people, and so they help us with doing nice flyers for our events. There are other people like Patrick, who mentioned his background as a mechanic. We do bike checks at the farmers market every Saturday before Ciclovia. We have a bike check. Walk Bike Burbank at the Burbank Farmers Market hosts from whenever the market is open, like 8 to 12. We are there fixing bikes for free, just doing basic stuff. We're not trying to do the big jobs that the bike shops do, but just kind of making sure that the brakes are stopping the bike, so that if someone wants to participate in Ciclovia, they're able to do that. But doesn't have to be connected to Ciclovia. It's just we use that date and the farmers market has been very supportive of us. First, we weren't sure that they would, but they saw what we were doing. They saw how we were helping people. They saw the expertise of the mechanics who came out to volunteer for us, and they said, this is a great thing. And so now they ask us, when's the next Ciclovia? When are you guys going to be there? We said, August 8th. We'll be at the farmers market, because I think the 9th is the next Ciclovia. We also publish routes to get to Ciclovia for people who don't want to ride all the way there, like how do you get the red line to get to the blue line, or whatever it might be, because most of the initial ones were downtown, so a lot of us were using Metrolink or the red line to get downtown or to get back after you had ridden if you were tired. So so we do that. We also do so the next step was to reach out to the police in Burbank. The police get grants for projects for traffic safety. They were using those grants to give tickets to bicyclists who were running red lights and things. I don't want bicyclists to run red lights, but I don't think that's the most effective way to do it. We got a sponsor. Pure Fix Bicycles is located in Burbank, and they sponsored an Operation Firefly for us. So we did an Operation Firefly on the Chandler Bikeway, which is a path. It's used a lot for recreational use, for people walking their dogs and everything. But it's also a steady stream of people who work, maybe as busboys and things. They use that as a connecting point to the red line. A lot of younger people and working people didn't have lights on their bike, and so we gave out 50 sets of lights, or almost 100 lights that night. The police came out and observed what we were doing, and they're like, these guys, they're good folks. So they didn't view us as being, anti-car, but rather of saying, look, we're here to make the environment better for everyone. So we also participated just a couple weeks ago with the Burbank Police. They're registering bikes, which they do. I know LA City doesn't do, but they do that to help people recover their bikes if they're stolen. But we joined them on the bike path to participate in it, but also just to help people. Several people came up. They had flat tires on their bikes. They came up to register them, but we helped them with their flat tires and that sort of thing. So we've taken, for the last year now, we've been doing those kinds of community events and outreach. We're doing a ride tomorrow with the mayor in support of a fundraising event for children's cancer. We were asked by the mayor to do it, so we're doing it. We're organizing the ride. In exchange, or what we hope will be the eventual exchange, is that when the South Channel Bike Path comes back up on the City Council, the environment for bicycling in the city is going to be different. And we also have 400 followers on Facebook now that we didn't have a year ago. We have, a number of followers on Twitter that are following us. We have the resources of the LA County Bicycle Coalition. When these things come up on the agenda, we're going to be ready, and we're going to have lots of folks turn out, and we hope the result is going to be different. We hope there's going to be an approval of this bike path, and I know that the city staff has been working on it very hard, has developed a model of it and everything. We're anxious to see the reaction to that, but we're very hopeful that we've turned things around. I know that I don't want to be overly optimistic, and I know that there's ups and downs in any kind of fight. You can win a battle and still lose the war. So we're going to keep moving forward And every day, the group of us get together. We always have ideas, to do things. And we actually Walk Bike Glendale, who you mentioned earlier. They're kind of an inspiration for us. They've been around for a while. Mm-hmm. They're doing a lot of great things, and they've made progress. But they have big challenges, too, because there are a lot of cars that drive way too fast in Glendale and on a corridor that connects with Burbank. And the problem of speed is a very real issue, and we're very concerned about it. So we actually collaborate with them as well. So we're part of the bigger community of LA County Bike Coalition. Then we also work with the other local chapters on collaborating with ideas for things that we have in common and participating in rides together and things like that. So I really want to encourage anybody who's listening to the podcast, if you're in a local community in the county and you've encountered some of these issues locally, whether you're a district, a separate city or not, these are, it's something you might want to think about doing. We started with 3 people. It was Patrick and me and our friend Craig from the Recycling Center in Burbank. We said, let's do this. This is an idea. And we just started reaching out to people. And now we are a pretty great group of people that I think is making a difference. Well, I have to say, I don't want that first night that I spoke at the city council, I was really mad. I was furious to think that they were actually considering not approving something that was fully funded, is a great idea, just because 1 or 2 people are opposed to it, and I thought that their opposition was quite unreasonable, and I said so. So I know we all have the same emotions about these things, and when situation like on Figueroa where there's I won't call it an accident, where there's an incident and there's another, tragedy as a result of these issues, we realize this is really important stuff, but we're really trying to take the approach of, we realize that we're looking at the long-term goal here, which is to get more people on bikes and improve the environment for bicycling, and because we know that all of us, well, most of us are drivers too, and so we know that you have to change the mindset for people to start thinking about bicyclists on the road. But of course, we're totally in support of improved infrastructure, and we're going to push hard for that. So as well, the LA County Bicycle Coalition is a great organization. We're happy to be a part of it. We're also involved with a number of other organizations that you may follow too, Nick, like Transportation Alternatives in New York.
Yeah.
The League of American Bicyclists, which used to be called the League of American Wheelmen. It's an organization that's been around for over 100 years, like 125 years or something. So there's a lot of people across the country doing great stuff, and it inspires us all the time to do things in our local community, because I always say, if they can do it in Manhattan, we should be able to do it in L.A. Gosh, the weather's
our weather's so much
weather's
better.
A lot better here. How is it that they can do it and we can't? So, we're working hard to make the changes that we think are possible. So I don't think that we're pie in the sky here. We really are trying to make a difference. And after a year's time, I feel like it's been a positive thing. So we're glad to be here with you and telling you about it. Went to the first, they have a regional caucus where all the local groups come together on a semi-regular basis, maybe once every 2 or 3 months, and they meet usually downtown at the Bike Coalition's offices on Spring Street. People come from Pomona, from Carson, from Santa Monica, from Burbank, Glendale, all over the place, and people are talking about things that they're doing in their community. And wow, what a base of knowledge. I mean, the things that Cynthia is, the critical mass, in Santa Monica, and the
critical mass for kids.
Yeah, and the different projects that they've done. Gives us ideas of things to work with. And I know Cynthia mentioned to me, she said, I know you get asked by the city or the police sometimes to do things. We do National Night Out, for example, where we sit at a table with pamphlets and talk to people about bicycling. And she said, it can be frustrating at times, but she goes, you're making connections. Remember, you're making connections in your community, and you're meeting those police officers who are in charge of traffic or who are in charge of community resource. it's going to make a difference down the line because now you can call them and ask them to participate in one of your events. And so, she's really encouraging, and she's our liaison to the board as well. So, I feel like that's the benefit of being a part of a county organization. We could just do this on our own as a little local community, and we certainly have a lot of bicycling experience between us and some community activism and that sort of thing. And certainly Craig, being from the recycling center, has got a lot of connections into the environmental and resource conservation issues and things like that. But he's actually our chair, Craig Hempel, who's head of the recycling center in Burbank. And so we could do just a local organization, but we really feel like it's beneficial to be a part of the county because of just the knowledge base of information that is going to help us move forward, and we learn so much from that. And Kevin from West Hollywood introduced me to you. So that's a perfect example of we may have never met if it hadn't been for the county coalition and helping us stay informed about the issues. It's a great group, and we're happy to be a part of it.
How did you guys start your actual chapter? Did you just go ahead?
Yeah, you can go onto their website, and it says that if you're interested in starting a local chapter, contact us. And so I think the information is on the labike.org. And we just called, and Eric, I think at the time was and now it's Haran Lee is the chapter organizer, and they have a full little package of stuff. Of rules of governance and the little rules and things that you need to form as an organization, but they help you with all that, give you the forms, and tell you, how you can do that. And we just started promoting it, I think, on Facebook, and we just picked a date. We're meeting at this coffee shop this date, and we're going to form an organization. We didn't know if anyone would show up. We literally did not know. We thought, well, there's three of us. The three of us are going to be there. And sure enough, the people came, and they were so enthusiastic. It was just the most exhilarating experience. So it was a great experience. But that's pretty much what it took. And then, they did encourage us to say, we'll have a meeting once a month. And so we have meetings at different places around the city. Pure Fix has been hosting our meetings from time to time. They've been very helpful. Michael Fishman is one of the founders of Pure Fix. He came to that initial meeting. And again, I was like, wow, we have a bicycle company in our city, and they're interested in participating. So they've been awesome, and meet in some of the city facilities like the community rooms and things like that.
Huh.
And it's good to have some food, too, if you promise.
Entice.
Or mention that maybe we'll go for a beer afterwards or something like that. That sometimes helps, too. And I think it's a long-term strategy that you have to win the hearts and minds of those politicians who maybe don't appreciate the need for the bicycle infrastructure. So you try to work with the people that are in place now. And for those who are not successful in that, who will say, I'm sorry, I've heard everything you say, I still disagree with you, all we can do is work to vote them out of office. So the ultimate, power that we have is the vote. And in many of our communities, the numbers are not that large. I think it was mentioned that, and I don't follow the LA City elections as closely as you guys may do, but I don't think Cedillo won by that many votes. So,
right.
You have the power. If you have 2,000 people, you have the power to make a difference in the next election. Unfortunately, that doesn't solve the project, the Hyperion Bridge or whatever that's on the agenda tonight or next week, but you have to keep the long-term goal in mind and keep working on it. Yeah, and that's a problem you have. I mean, candidates who are in the phase when they're going to be elected, they make a lot of promises, but we have to hold them to their promises. And and one of the things I didn't mention all the things that we did. One of the best things we did, we had a municipal election in Burbank in February, and we're a nonprofit in LA County Bicycle Coalition. We don't advocate or oppose any candidates, so I don't want to we're careful about that. But what we can do is we can inform voters. So we send a survey to every candidate and ask them to respond to questions about, do you support this project? What is your position on the South Channel bike path? That kind of thing. And then we publish that on our website. We notified all of our followers. We told them, send this out to all your friends. Let your friends know where the candidates stand on these issues. And credit to the candidates in the last Burbank election, everyone responded, and people were honest. Some people were opposed to projects, and they said they were opposed to it. And other people spoke in ways very eloquently about bicycling that we were surprised. It was helpful. We felt that we were educating the voters, and that in a way we were getting the vote out, because we were saying, look, there is a difference between these candidates when it comes to these kinds of issues. If you care about this issue, it's important for you to go to the polls. Well, we didn't actually go to the polls. We had a mail-in ballot. So we were actually encouraging people to mail back their ballots, and had some events associated with, like, ride your bike to the drop-off place. And I didn't think of us as being professional. And
no.
I think it's every probably local chapter has their own personality and their own strengths and things. So, I look at things like Santa Monica Spoke, that's been around for such a long time, as being very professional and very experienced, and we're the new kids on the block. But we got great mentors who are helping us. So maybe it seems like this, but we actually don't. We feel like we're always sort of making it up as we go along and just trying new things. And we said, if we organize an event and nobody comes up, we were talking about that. We said, that's how you learn. Like, how would you know? If you don't try. So I have to say, we've been working really hard. The last year, we've put in a tremendous amount of time. But the fact is, it's fun and we love it, and we're having a great time. So we feel like we're making a difference. Oftentimes we feel discouraged about being able to make a difference in the community, and so I think this is a lot of fun. And we've had so many people who haven't ridden in years. They get on a bike, and they become advocates, so we're seeing our followers on Facebook grow every week. Not a lot, sometimes 1, sometimes 5. I mean, that's the business part of it. And the other is just the community. Like, there's a little an elderly man who's a crossing guard at the school near where I ride my bike to work. And I've gotten to know him because I ride my bike right next to him. The cars drive by. They may wave at him, but I actually can talk to him because I'm going on my bike and he's standing on the corner, and we always greet one another and talk about the weather and those kinds of things. So it just, most communities want to have that community feel, but yet they want to drive in a big SUV at 45 miles an hour. That's a contradiction. Right. You can't do those two things and be in a community. And I tell the story to people who ask, why do you ride a bike? I said, well, one morning I was riding to work, and the city was working on the curb, so they were trimming the roots of a pepper tree. And I'm telling you, the fragrance in the air was so amazing. If I were in a car, I would have just driven right by. And it's like, I'm experiencing life by being on a bicycle. Like, well, why would I want to be in a car? Most of the time when I am in my car, and we do have one car, we used to have 2 cars. We did get rid of one, which I was really happy about, we're to the point where we want to get rid of the last one. But we really need to have a better public transportation system to make it, a good alternative for people. And I do think there's been improvement.
Just last words, but also, I just want to point out the fact that, well, we have Mary LaPeek Dickson and Patrick Dickson here and what are your titles at Walk Bike Burbank?
Well, we're the co-founders of it,
Okay.
but I'm now the secretary and treasurer because no one else wanted to do that, so by default. And Patrick is.
I'm the planning and policy director.
Okay, great.
And our website is walkbikeburbank.org. And anybody who lives or works in Burbank, I hope you'll follow us on Facebook. But or just encourage it. And the way to join is just to join the County Bike Coalition. Joining local chapters is a part of your membership. And you can join ones even if you don't live there. You just have to select it because there are a lot of people who work in Burbank and don't live there but might want to bicycle in Burbank because they may use public transportation and then need to bike to get to their where they work. So.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Bike Talk. If you want to hear more, go to kpfk.org, navigate to programs, and choose Bike Talk. On the Bike Talk page, click on the archives link to play or download shows posted in the last 4 months. Go to biketalk.com and copy or click on the RSS link to subscribe. Our Twitter handle is Bike Talk PFK. On Facebook, we are Bike Talk. You can become friends and join our group.